Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Break. My name is Brad Lachut. I am the Director of Government and Industry Affairs, as well as General Counsel for the Professional Insurance Agents of the Northeast. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favorite topics, the New York cybersecurity regulation, and specifically the certification of compliance. For those of you familiar with the regulation, certification of compliance comes around every year, just around this time. So I thought I'd review that process and hopefully bring everybody back up to speed and familiarize yourself with it. So before we get into the certification of compliance, talk a little bit about the regulation on a high level, just in a nutshell, so you know we're all on the same page. So New York cybersecurity regulation has been around for about 5 years or so. It requires all covered entities, which I'll get into in a second, to protect the non-public information that they have on their information system. So non-public information includes most of the information, most of your client information, anything financial, social security numbers, credit card numbers, bank accounts, addresses, things like that. Your information system is your computer system, hard copy papers, basically anywhere where you're storing information, data, specifically non-public information. So again, the regulation requires covered entities to protect that information, take certain steps. Covered entities includes anybody who is licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services. That includes all agents, insurance agents, and brokers and insurance companies, whether they're resident licensees or non-resident, meaning they're out of state. The regulation applies to all, and anybody who's licensed has to be following it. So what does the regulation require at a high level? Requires all covered entities to conduct a risk assessment, which is basically taking a look at your information system and seeing where there might be some weaknesses, and then to develop a cybersecurity program and policy in which to address those weaknesses so that you don't have non-public information accessed, unauthorized access to non-public information. That's a better way to say it. In addition to that, and again, that's very high level, covered entities are required to file with the Department of Financial Services on an annual basis a certification of compliance. There's also a filing for an exemption, and I'll talk about that briefly here as well. So let's get into the certification of compliance. That's the main point of this here. So the certification of compliance, as I mentioned at the beginning, is an annual requirement. It must be completed by all covered entities by April 15th. That date is relatively new. The Department of Financial Services moved it a couple of years ago. It used to be February 15th, but now it is April 15th, so you got 2 extra months to do it. Yay. It is like your taxes in that not only is it on April 15th, but it is also backwards looking. So all covered entities would be certifying compliance for the year previous. So right now I'm talking to you in the year 2023, hello from the past. Anybody filing in the year 2023 would be filing for their compliance for the year 2022. Just be on the same page. And this must be completed by all applicable covered entities. Now, applicable covered entities, here's the catch. I did say everybody has to file this, but not everybody has to file a certification of compliance. There is an exemption to the filing of the certification of compliance. Under the regulation, covered entities who are covered by the cybersecurity program of another covered entity are not required to file a certification of compliance. So what does that mean in actual real English? It means that employees of agencies or employees of insurance companies who are licensed do not have to file a certification of compliance. They are covered by the certification of compliance of their employer, of the agency or the insurance company that they work for. Now, those employees are required to do a one-time filing indicating they are exempt from the certification of compliance. And that's the other filing I mentioned just a few slides ago. So employees of agencies or licensed employees of agencies must do that once. If you've done it, great, you're good to go. If you're unsure, I would encourage you to go on the Department of Financial Services website, which I'll show you in a second, and take a look and make sure that you do have that filing. And if you don't, do file it. So let's go back over to the certification of compliance. How to file. Now for this, I'm going to take you through the actual steps of doing it, at least as far as I can, to hopefully make it a little bit easier. So let's go to the Department of Financial Services website. Bring that up for you. So hopefully you should be seeing the DFS site right now. I have a link in the bottom as well, but it's dfs.newyork.gov. So once you're on that website, you are going to go to the right-hand side to this gold oval that says DFS portal, a little person in it. You're going to click on that. It should take you to a pop-up. If it doesn't, make sure you check your pop-up blockers, make sure there's nothing funny going on there. On the left-hand side below where it says Department of Financial Services, you'll see My Apps and Welcome. Go to My Apps, hoping for some potato skins, and no, unfortunately, different kind of apps. You should be seeing a cybersecurity notice. You're going to click on that blue link right there, and that will take you to where you need to go. Now, I mentioned the employee exemption. You're going to see 3 buckets. One will say exemption. That's where if you are an employee and you need to file your exemption, you would go there. Since we are talking about compliance, we are going to go over to the compliance aspect. Now, in the event that you do experience a cybersecurity event, you would also report that in the same using the same portal. You go over to the events tab right here. But we're doing compliance, so let's begin there. First step is to find the entity. Who are you filing for? Now, here I will mention an important point that if you have multiple licenses, you are required to file a certification of compliance for each one of those licenses. So if you have 3 licenses, let's say you have an agent license, a broker license, and another agent license that's for life and health, you would need to file 3 certifications of compliance. So remember that. Make sure you have your license numbers handy when you're doing this. That way you're not scrambling around in the middle trying to find everything. If you don't have them handy, there's a find tool I'll show you in a second. So I would encourage everybody to look up themselves using their New York license number. So we're going to click that, and then we're going to click next. And then we're going to go find my entity. So you can either put in your license number if you have that there, do that, and you'll bring yourself up. If not, you might need help finding your entity. Click on that blue box that that hot link that I just clicked on. You can enter your agency name or the first and last name if you're filing as an individual. So I actually do not have a license. I am not a licensed producer. I am just an attorney. So this is where I stop. I cannot go any further. So I'm going to take you over here. After you put your license number in, you should be taken to this certification detail page. And you can see what this looks like here, this PDF. You're going to see a couple radio kind of buttons here. One says board of directors, one says senior officer, one says self. If you're filing for your agency, chances are you're going to be filing as a senior officer. And you're going to go click on that. Depending on your corporate structure, if you are filing for a board of directors, that's fine. You would do that. You probably will know that coming in. If you're filing on your individual license, you're going to be clicking the last box that says self. Now, once you do that, depending on what box you click, senior officer, self, or board of directors, is going to ask you for specific information. So I'm going to take you down to the senior officer because that's probably going to be what most people are doing, at least one of the licenses. So it's going to ask you to put in the name of the senior officer, certain compliance. You would put in your own name as well as your title, your email address under email for senior officer, same thing for phone, your phone number, and then your covered entity tax ID number, whatever that might be, the current date, and then hit next. You're good to go. That'll take you over to the next, which is the cyber contacts. This is going to ask you basically, the information you're going to put in here is going to be the contact person for any cyber issues. Chances are it might be the person filling it out, the senior officer. If you happen to have a chief information officer, like a CISO, that would be the person to put in there. Or if you have a designated person in your office for cyber issues, IT professional, that sort of thing, you could put their information in there as well. Most of the time, though, it'll probably be the individual completing it. Once that is done, you're going to go over to the signature section, which is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to attest that you are compliant and this is you. Hit the next button or hit the submit button, and you're good to go. Now, you will afterwards get a receipt from the Department of Financial Services. That receipt, let me bring this back up for you guys so you can take a look at this. Has some information on it, but not everything that you're going to need. So let me just mention this. So after you file, the receipt you're going to get from the DFS, which is the only proof of filing that you're going to get. You're only going to get an email receipt. So make sure you save it. It's going to indicate what kind of filing it was. So if you are filing for the exemption, you'll get a receipt that starts with the letter E, E and then a serial number. If you're filing the certification of compliance, you're going to get something with a C and then some numbers. Now, what the receipt will not have is the license number for which you are filing that certification. So if you're doing 3 filings, right, 3 licenses, you're going to get 3 emails saying, hey, you filed for all these, but it's not going to indicate which license is which or which certification is for which license. So I would encourage everybody to, after you get the receipt, mark it up some way, either hard copy or digitally, and indicate what license number that receipt is for, right? So if it's going to be C1234, make sure you indicate that is for my broker's license for PNC. Now you get C56789, indicate that that is for your agent health or life and health license. That'll just go a long way in helping you in terms of filing and knowing that you filed all the certification of compliance, because it's easy to get lost in there. So again, you're only going to get the email, so make sure you look for that email and you save it, and then and again, write your license number down as well. So that is the process in a nutshell. It's pretty straightforward. It should be, hopefully. Hopefully this video is helpful. If you do have questions, please reach out to me. My email address is there, or you can reach out to the Resource Center. I have provided some links below, including to the DFS, the site that I showed you, as well as a bunch of resources that PIA has on this. Hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, if you have any questions, please reach out, and I'll see you soon on the next break.